Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scrap and Sew's mini lesson in using the My Sewnet crafting software. My name is Adeline, and I have over 20 years of working on digital cutters and learning their respective softwares. Today, in this class, you will be learning how to use basic shapes in the Add category to make sentiment tags for your cards. So let's begin. You will notice that I have the My Sewnet crafting software icon pinned to my taskbar. I'm going to click on it and it will open up on my screen. And it opens up in the home screen. And you can see that within the home screen, there are different ways to load your files and a few app settings that you want to go over before you begin. It also has a category where there are new canvas options. And you can pick the 4 basic canvases that are available to this machine, or you can actually select one from the custom size. I like to use the presets, and there are many of them in this list. They've recently added the 8x21 fat quarter, which is very helpful when you're working with fabrics. But right now we're going to be working with paper. So I am going to select the 12x12 mat, hit OK, and then I'm going to wait for it to load. Now you'll notice while it's loading that I have several files on the bottom of the recent files that I've been working with to design this class. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to start with my screen and the basic mat with a grid and the rulers showing. So what I want to do is I want to go right under here. Let me expand this a little bit. And I want to go under here to view. And you can change the canvas color. You can actually change the grid color. I changed it to black. And you can also change the grid size. And I like to use, when designing, the smaller grid size, the 1/4 inch. So I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, there's a lot of little tiny squares. Well, what I can do also is I can zoom in so I can see a little bit easier. And I'm zooming in with my mouse wheel so that I can zoom right into a corner like this. All right, and I can zoom out with the mouse wheel too. And then I can move this around like this. Okay, just using this arrow in a pan type of screen. You can also use these zoom features right up here, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I do not. So it just depends on what I'm comfortable with. The add screen or icon is right down here at the bottom. It has the circle, the triangle, and the T for text. I'm going to click on that, and it opens up additional options, which lettering is one of them, sample designs, basic shapes, vertical lines, and horizontal lines. We're going to be working with basic shapes and lettering for now. And so what I'm going to do is open up the basic shapes. And when I open up the basic shapes, you'll see that this is the same shapes that you will find in the My Sewnet embroidery software. But it's just a gold mine of shapes for tags for sentiments. So I was pretty excited when I figured out that we could do this quite easily. So I'm going to start with a circle. I'm going to click with a circle and then hit OK. Now the circle comes in already at 3 inches tall and wide. And how do I know that rather? I'm going to go into the edit button, click on it. And what I'm going to do is I am going to select this box with the squares around it and in the center. And what that is a transform box, and it gives me the size of this circle. You can use a 3-inch circle, but realize we're going to add a border, so that'll make it a little bit larger. So I like to start with approximately a 2-inch circle. And I think that's pretty standard. There are actually punches for the different size circles, and 2-inch punch is one of them. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to identify, after I set the size, I'm going to identify the path that I want to follow. And right now it's going to cut out a paper circle. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change that outside line to a pen line. So I click on the type and I select pen. In the drop-down menu, you will see that there are a few different choices for the pens. The markers can be the dual tip markers. The 0.4 marker, one of that is a black one that you received in your basic kit. So you can start doing tags right away. These other two markers, there are a number of choices, and I'll go over that when I explain how to draw on your tags in another video. And then the gel pen is also a nice feature that we sell at scrapandsoap.com. And so if you're interested in purchasing one, just go on our site or give us a call and we'll be happy to get that out for you. So if I choose the marker, it darkens the line a little bit at 2.5. And that's because the tip of 2.5 is a little bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the color that I want. And the color that I want is going to be a gray. And I'm going to use the metallic markers. So I'm going to select a gray color and click OK. It doesn't have anything to do with the software knowing that you're using a gray color, except in the different commands that it gives you at the beginning. Alrighty, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to add a border. And the border size that I like is 1/8 of an inch, which is 0.125. And then I also check to keep grouped and hit OK. And there's my first tag. Isn't that awesome? I'm pretty excited about that. And so I have a nice plain circle with a border around it. Now, the next one I'm going to play with is a rectangle. Now, remember, these come in proportionate to each other. This one is, again, at 3 inches. So it varies depending on the size. So this one, I am going to also make 2 inches. And I just type in the transform box 2.0. And because I have the proportions locked, then it'll change the width and the height and make them both the same. Again, I'm going to go back to the path function and select pen. Click the 2.5 marker, and I'm going to make it consistent because I want all of the tags to be outlined in that silver pen. Okay, there it is. And now I'm going to add a border, and the same border is 0.125. And there's my next tag, and they're already grouped together. Now, in order to change these into an oval, that's very simple. You click on it, you go to the size, transform screen, and you unclick lock proportions. And then what you're going to do is you can just drag it down and make it an oval. Now, if you want to resize that because it's a little bit too long, you can certainly do that. And you can change the sizing independent of each other. So this one, the length is going to be 3.0 and the width is going to be 2.0. Okay. And then I can lock the proportions right there. And so it's going to make it 2.0 and 1.996 is apparently what the software wants to calculate it as. So here we go. Here's a square. Now we can make this into a rectangle the same way. Unlock the proportions, drag it down or to the center and release, and then check the sizing. And so I'm actually going to make this 3 inches as well, and 2 inches is a width. And lock it. Okay, so now I have an oval and a rectangular tab. Okay, makes sense? In order to do the rest of them, you just follow the same steps. Basic shape. This is one of my favorites down here too, right there. And now you'll notice that when this comes in, it comes in at an odd size. And that's because it's already been changed proportionately, or actually this one is not proportionately because it's wider more than it's taller. So I'm just going to unlock that, or if I want to, I can just shrink it proportionately because I don't want to mess with the different widths. You get all kinds of different shapes and sizes if you like to play around. Okay, so it's 1.75, 3/4 tall by 2, and I don't know, let's 2.21. So let's make this a 2.25. Whoops, we got to unlock it. If we don't unlock it, it'll change it. So 2.25, and we'll make it 1.5 tall. Okay, now we'll lock it. Change it to a pen. Don't forget to do this because I found out the hard way that if I don't change it, it wants to cut it. And this one I'm going to change back again. So the markers are all the same. And I'm going to make it gray. You'll notice that these are the colors that came in first as blue and then secondly as gray. So if you want to use a consistent same color, pick one of these squares. So I'm just going to click that. Okay, now scroll down to find the add border, and make it 0.125. It does default to the same margin until you change it. All right, so now I have a number of tags, so I can continue doing the same thing. Whoops, wrong one. Here's another basic shape. And let's see, let me see what I can find. Oh, we got speech bubbles. These are cool shapes. Oh, this is another one of my favorites right here. And that one I'm going to also make smaller. And let me see, maybe 2.5 and 2.5. And lock it. That's so if I accidentally touch it and move it around, it doesn't change the sizing. Now again, back to the pen, change it to from cut to pen. And we're going to use, let's make sure you change. I've done this too. I've accidentally left it at the previous setting or the default setting. So make sure you change it to 2.5, change it to gray. And then I'm going to add a border. Now, if you don't add a border, it doesn't know where to cut. So you just have a bunch of shapes on your cardstock. So we've got to do that because now we have a draw. And I want you to notice, let me scroll in a little bit. Do you see how perfect that is? Nice sharp corners. I love it. I can't draw that perfectly, that's for sure. Because you could do this yourself if you wanted to take an oval, you punched an oval and you wanted to draw around it. If you have a steady hand, then you can actually draw a straight line. I do not have a steady hand. So I'm going to see what else I can fit into my cardstock size. Now you'll notice I can change these shapes, but I have to unlock them. Because if I try to, since this is locked, if I try to change the shape in any way, it only will do it proportionally. All right, so let me go back. And a good back is the undo. All right, now we'll do forward. And now I have the border. So if you want to add any more tags, this becomes our basic tag shape. Let me see what else I can find. Oh, I could do little flowers. I mean, there's just all kinds. I could make a round one. Let's try that. This is a popular tag too, is if you lengthen it in the transform screen. Let me do this. Let me move the mat so you can see it. Okay, how's that? Now, if I unlock the proportions, I can make it longer and skinnier, just like that. And actually, I found a print and cut with tags that are 1 inch tall, approximately, and 3.5 inch wide. And there it is. Now, again, I want to transform that to the pen. This is repetitive. It helps you learn that way. Develop that muscle memory. And then add your border. All right, so I have 5 tags here that can become my basis for my sentiments. In another video, I'll show you how to create shapes that are unusual and different based on dies cuts that are out there on the market. Alrighty, now when I get ready to print this, I just want a plain card sentiment and I have a stamp and a stamp pad, I can literally stamp onto these. So when I want to view it to see how it's going to fit on my cardstock, I'm using 8.5 by 11. So that is letter portrait. And then I'm going to change my grid to, let's see, I got to move this out of the way. Okay, how do I do that? Let's do this. Okay, so now I'm going to change this grid size to 1 inch. See, and that gives you a less busy, not so busy piece of cardstock. Okay, so I know that I can fit another one in here. This is not print and cut. You don't have to worry about that. So I can add a number, something else in here. I think I'm going to add a hexagon. So I'm going to go find a hexagon. Bring it down here. Whoops, that means it went off the mat when it turns red. And then I'm going to transform it under edit. Transform it. And this one I want even. So I'm going to, let's see. I could probably just lock it and reduce it. So let's do that. I'll lock it so that it changes it proportionally, and I'll change this to 2.75. Then I'll go over to my path options, change it to pen, change it to 2.5, and gray color. And then add the border. Alrighty. Now I need to save it because this particular software doesn't do auto save. So make sure you save it. And I'm going to go over here to the save as under file options. I'm going to save file as basic tags. And there you go. And you'll notice it'll save it only as a CCM file, and that's the native format for this crafting software. Alrighty. So this ends the first lesson. So I would love for you to try it in the software, open it up and make some basic tag shapes. The next lesson is going to be adding sentiments onto our basic tags. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.